Hello, I am Qiyara, and welcome to another video. Today, we are going to be watching VarsII, The Downfall of Sparkle, Spiral's most overrated character. I want to watch this because Sparkle is my favorite character in the game, and it is a shame that she got power crept so quickly, and also that she just, when she was released, she was good, but she wasn't like, I don't know, she didn't power creep Bronya like it seemed like she was meant to. And then Sunday came along and just power crept anybody before that, and now Sunday's just fucking ridiculous. Which I'm very annoyed because I hate Sunday. Anyway, let's get into the video.
Looking back through Honkai Star Rail's tenure, though it's only been roughly 2 years, a lot has
Tenure. I'm pretty sure tenure refers to. You know what? We're already sidetracked. Tenure definition. Holding of office. Okay, I thought it meant it referred to a time period. I'm just wrong.
happened during that
I'm gonna leave that in too.
short time. Characters have been pumping out in rapid succession without fail, and things have been improving and declining in equal measure. Such a breakneck pace of power scaling has unsurprisingly led to questions over the sustainability of the game's future, namely in that, what's the point of going after a meta-breaking unit if 3 weeks later there would be another meta-breaking unit?
Yep.
Although I don't think it's that bad. Many would agree that a number of version 1 units, while perhaps not as prevalent as they used to be, are still more than serviceable in the modern era.
Yeah, but Ayla is a unique thing, and so is Ruan Mei. If you look at freaking all the DPS from 1.0, they are not anywhere near the level of the current DPSs.
All the same, the fast deterioration in presence for many of the game's older units has prompted Hoyo to release direct buffs to a number of them in an effort to not cause them to fall out the metagame completely. So far, all
Yeah, except why does it take them like 3 patches in order to release the buffs when they could have just been like, oh yeah, we're buffing characters, you'll get them in like 2 weeks.
targets have belonged to version 1, but it begs the question if power creep has also begun to affect a number of version 2 characters. At the time of her release, Sparkle had to have been one of the most hyped characters of all time, with supports being viewed as the most valuable category in HSR's team building environment, and Sparkle carrying a most extraordinary profile of abilities. Players were confident that she would stay relevant in
And she's awesome and a cute little gremlin, and I love her. But no.
the game for a long time to come.
Hoyo hates me, I guess.
Yet, as early as midway through version 2, she began to lose considerable market share, and in the present day, as we progress through version 3, Sparkle's equity across all 3 game modes currently ranks the lowest among her peers, not what you would expect for a support many once believed.
Let's see, where's Sunday on this list? Is Sunday even up here? We got Sunday. We got Sunday. We got Sunday. Whoa! The character that power crept her is way up here, whereas she's way down here because she only buffs people up to 50% in the action order, and he does 100% for both them and their summon. Why? It doesn't even matter if they don't have a summon; it's still 100%. He's just a new Bronya and a way better Sparkle, and he buffs I'm pretty sure it's damage percent rather than just crit damage that Sparkle does. So he's just got a better buff overall, similar to Ruan Mei. And I guess Robin also has the same damage percent buff, I believe.
Valuable. For today, we'll be discussing the downfall of Sparkle and whether or not she may have been the most overrated character in the game, not to any fault of her own. Sponsor for today, Proton VPN.
I'm gonna have to cut out so much of that. It went from ad, and right after the ad, it changed the video back to 2 times speed because when I watch videos by myself, I watch them in 2 times speed because they just take too long to watch normally.
As I'm sure you know by now, VPNs are virtual private networks that can be used to give you better security, access, and cover while surfing the net. Proton VPN is one of the most cutting edge on the market with over 12,000 servers in over 110
we'll
countries.
Let the ad go.
High-speed connections.
I was tempted to skip it, but since we were watching the video for a video, we'll let the ad go.
Of up to 10 gigabits per second through their VPN accelerator, boosting speeds by up to 400%, and you can use it for basically anything, whether streaming videos, torrenting, accessing TV channels around the world, or downloads. Of course, it comes with a no-logs policy verified by independent auditors, so you can get complete privacy from trackers. To reinforce that, the VPN's based in Switzerland, where they have incredibly strict laws on data protection. You can rest assured your user rights and identity will remain hidden. Not to mention, it's also open source, so don't take their word for it, you can see it for yourself. Anything you want from a VPN, whether bypassing location blockers, staying hidden while online, protecting.
I think you have to be incredibly tech savvy in order to be able to look at an open source thing and understand what it's happening. I could look at it and might as well be the solution to world hunger, cancer, and the end of all war. I don't understand it, so it doesn't matter.
And keeping trackers from spying on you, Proton has to it. If you're looking to
At least, I mean, personally, it doesn't matter. Obviously, tech savvy people can look at it and be like, "Oh yeah, this is true," or "Oh yeah, you're a lying piece of shit." But whatever.
upgrade your VPN or start using one, check out Proton and get a 64% discount using my link protonvpn.com/VarsII, also in the description below. Thanks again to Proton for sponsoring the video, but for now, let's get back to it. Back at the start of version 2, the Honkai-style metagame was beginning to take shape. After version 1 laid the groundwork for endgame combat, the characters that got released around this time were starting to get more intentional. We had Argenti, who was very clearly made for pure fiction, Runmei, who was meant to be a general buffer and debuffer, and Black Swan, who was supposed to push forward the dot engine. Up to that point though, there hasn't been a whole lot.
Yeah, except Black Swan, dot is ass. That's what I meant to say. Whoop.
Of developments, if at all, in the carry department, as throughout most of version 1, Bronya was pretty much a tier 0 character who was being used in every possible team due to a lack of alternatives who did exactly what she could. That all changed when Sparkle came out as the second character of version 2.0, possessing a number of qualities approximating that of the Irelia Supreme Guardian but with more potential for upside, leading many to believe she might very well be the single best character in the game on account of supplanting the previous best character in the game, broadly speaking. Reception towards the Masked Fool was infectious to say the least. In fact, while this isn't related to her in-game, she received by far the highest views on a trailer than any other limited 5.
I was like 20 of them at least.
Star character before or since, registering over 20 million views. I still remember the sheer amount of discussion over her being the first instance of blatant power creep, having a constant comparison argument against Bronya over who is truly better. Though the two weren't exactly one-to-one, by and large, players were in agreement that Sparkle would be a direct upgrade in many noteworthy teams at the time, with the reasons being fairly self-evident. Bear in mind, we're still looking at this from the standards of early 2024 when the game
because of the freaking SP bonuses, I'm assuming.
Was only about 8 months old. Sparkle had a number of things going for her that made her stand head and shoulders above most of the competition, besides maybe Ranmei. Unlike Bronya, whose crit damage boost was to the entire party, Sparkle's boost was only to one person. However, unlike Bronya, whose general damage boost was to only one person, Sparkle's damage boost was to the entire party. I'd say practically speaking.
Oh, I guess she does have a little bit of a damage percent, but it's up to 18% right there. So, I mean, is that a ton? Not really.
That was the better orientation. Seldom did you ever need 2 crit-based DPS characters. Moreover, Sparkle could apply these buffs at higher amounts and for more turns, giving her better uptime and consistency overall. Regarding her turn events, people raised an eyebrow over whether her 50% action forward was subjectively worse than Bronya's full turn events, but after some testing, it was concluded that 90% of the time, assuming proper speed manipulation, it was close enough to be almost equivalent.
Yeah, but speed manipulation is the most cringe fucking thing in this game. I hate it. I hate having to get a bunch of speed substats in order to get my character up above the whatever 140, 160, whatever the freaking level that it wants to be at. It's very annoying. I don't like it.
To a full turn events and application. We could stand here splitting hairs about the specifics of their buffing capability all day, but for the most part, Sparkle and Bronya weren't that far off from each other. So why did people see the former as that much better than the latter, and by extension,
I guess I wasn't really looking at the community during this because I didn't see really any of this. I just saw Sparkle in, actually I saw her leaks and I was like, oh, I love her character design. And then I saw her in the White Knight trailer and I was like, yeah, I love her. And then her character in game, she's a little gremlin and she's voiced by what's her name, Lizzie Freeman, or yeah, I think Lizzie Freeman is the English voice of her, which is also Chisato from Licorice Recoil, and that's exactly what I wanted her voice to be, so it was just perfect.
Why did people see her as one of, if not the best character in the game at one point? It's because of the other aspect of her, one that effectively served as the central focus of Honkai-style's metagame for a long time: skill points. SP economy was a critical factor of interest throughout version 1 and even early version 2. Some characters had the potential to contribute extremely well to a party but would be rendered basically ineffective on the sole basis of SP economy, rather inefficient SP economy. Considered arguably the worst support character in the game, you wouldn't think that at first when you saw what Yukon could provide. 80% attack boost, 28% crit rate, 65% crit damage, 12% imaginary damage, and 10% speed. These were even more impressive than Bronya's buffing profile, yet Yukong saw zero play for the sheer fact that in addition to her being extremely hard to operate, her SP consumption was by far one of the worst in the game.
Yeah, you had to freaking skill on her every turn, basically.
At least if you wanted her to be more usable, you'd be spending so much to maintain her uptime that you'd have nothing else for the rest of the team.
Yep.
On the inverse end, units like Luocha and Jingliu were touted for being very SP efficient, mostly in the sense that they didn't have to necessarily spend.
Yeah, they used Jingliu just uses a skill point to get her I can't remember what that state is up, and then when she's in that state, she doesn't use skill points while it's in that. I mean, she doesn't generate skill points, but not having to use them at all in order to do your AoE blast thing is nice, and then also being able to freaking ultimate and get another stack back in order to use your enhanced
skill
attack
points
again.
every action. It became of utmost importance to prioritize units who took up as little SP as possible. Sparkle's unique property was that she could not only replenish your team's SP supply through her ultimate and technique, letting you make use of more demanding characters like Seela and Lunai Danheng, but she passively raised your SP cap to 7, which at the time was inconceivable. She essentially
and then I think it's either C4 or C6, it goes up to 9, which is crazy.
broke the rules of the game, something no one else was able to do prior. With SP being the be-all end-all for many parties, people were postulating all kinds of ways to make better use of it, and immediately overnight Sparkle was given the title of must-pull by many. She could be used for Lunai Danheng, for Seela, for Argenti, for Jinyu and Qingque, Dr.
Yeah, except now all these people... Actually, I don't even think most of these are used. I don't know how good he is. I know he's decent now with
Ratio.
with what's his name? With Sunday. But now all these guys are just better supported by Sunday, even though I don't think Seela is good at all. And Argenti, I don't think he was really ever that good.
The only ones who didn't really go after her immediately were Jingliu and Blade, mostly because they could use other characters better, as well as not really being SP spammers.
I guess it's fair. But I think I put Sparkle on my Jingliu team, at least until I got freaking Acheron, and then Acheron was just 20 times better than any other DPS.
I'm pretty sure even then though, Sparkle was still a best in slot by like a tiny margin.
Yeah.
That wouldn't even be the biggest perk about it. The very next character to be released in 2.1 was Acheron, who oversaw the biggest leap in power in the history of HSR. For now. She was easily double the strength of the second best DPS, that's how crazy she was, and while Acheron was designed—
Yep, double? Yeah, sorry, I freaking add that I'm gonna have to go through and edit out again. I'm gonna go back just a little bit.
For now. She was easily double the strength of the second best DPS, that's how crazy she was, and while Acheron was designed to want other Nihility units in her party, it was actually more worthwhile in many situations to go Sparkle over a second Nihility, due to how much power she could give the Emanate.
Yeah, or you can get freaking E2, and then you only have to have one other Nihility unit, because she always counts as herself, or I don't even remember exactly what it says, but I think it's just she always has at least one Nihility teammate, or whatever, because of the E2, which is ridiculous.
Of course, should you get E2S1 Acheron your team over herself, Silver Wolf or Pela depending on the content, Sparkle and Fuxuan would curb stomp the shit out of everything the current endgame had to offer without even so much as batting an eye, lending even more appeal to Sparkle, who at that point became determinedly and empirically the best support in the game. Strangely, however, she wouldn't be dominant for very long. One could argue the only reason she was in that position to begin with was because it was one of the first combat engines to get off the ground. Come 2.2, Robin would enter the fray, and alongside Ranmei, the three ladies basically were the HSR equivalent of the Egyptian god.
I want to be honest, I have Robin. I even have Robin E1 because I was pulling for... There was a 4-star on her initial banner that I needed one more thing to get. And instead of pulling for whoever the other character was, it was Topaz that I got at the same time. I did like 2 more 10 pulls and I got an E1 Robin. But I haven't really used Robin that much. I don't know what's so good about her. She seems kind of mid. But I don't, maybe I just don't have the teammates that she's meant to go with, or maybe I just don't use her right. I don't know.
Cards. Broken ass characters who basically won you the game by playing them. Yes, I know, Yu-Gi-Oh players, don't you? Well, actually me, I know the official cards are all garbage, I'm talking about the anime versions, but I digress. The Harmony Trio would be the centerpiece of version 2's metagame for quite some time, all the way until around 2.7. Each of them drew appeal for offering a slew of all-purpose buffs that could be utilized by just about everyone, while additionally carrying a niche of her own. Robin was specialized in follow-up attacks, although later we discover she's kind of just the best unconditional support. Anyway, Ranmei was
I guess I just don't know. I use Rowan May instead.
Specialized in break teams, and Sparkle was specialized in hypercarries. Each unit of the Harmony trio also had a tier 0 party at the time. A byproduct of this, of course, is that Sparkle went from being the option to an option. Akron was still far and away the best attacker in the game, even with the release of Firefly, but the others weren't too far behind her. By extension, people didn't think of Sparkle as someone that had to be played, rather someone who could. Furthermore, the inclusion of Robin complicated things a bit. Though she was a follow-up attack-oriented specialist, her general buffing was easily the strongest of the three. She offered the exact same buffs as Sparkle did in the form of crit damage and regular damage. Mind you, not as much as a fireworks girl, but enough to compete. Then, however, Robin would also give unconditional bonus attack to the entire party as well, which allowed her to be played in teams that didn't stand to gain much from crit damage like the Dot engine.
DOT, yeah. Except DOT's trash. Hopefully they buff DOT. I don't know how they're gonna buff. I don't know. I feel like you just need to buff DOT altogether so that it's viable. And then I'll try out this Robin DOT team.
Chief of all, though, was the team-wide turn advance on her ultimate, and simply being able to apply buffs to the entire team instead of a portion dedicated only to one character. So in a sense, though Sparkle still had Akron and a few others wrapped around her finger, Robin for all intents and purposes stole a good chunk of market share away from her. And with the emerging follow-up attack and break engines receiving all the attention throughout spring and summer of
yeah, break was crazy, but out of all these characters, I only have Firefly. Yun Li, I like her voice actress. It's Navia from Genshin. I don't remember her like name, but boy, I don't pull for boys. Boys, I don't pull for boys. I'm pretty sure Yun was leaked to come after her or something like that, so I didn't pull for Fei Xiao on her original, and I just don't care about Fei Xiao, to be honest. And Rappa, I fucking hate her guts. Her patch was annoying. Rappa's annoying. She can go to hell.
Last year, though she was still a deserving member of the Trinity, Sparkle was considered to be the weakest of the three outside of Akron teams. Also as a footnote, Jingyuan.
For me, Rappa and her patch was the downfall. It's the beginning of the downfall of Honkai Star Rail's enjoyment for me.
And Lunai Danheng both began to fall off and were no longer being widely used around this time. Another growing concern was that Sparkle's niche was starting to become more of just that, a niche. The majority of meta teams had little interest in the type of buffs that she offered, once again besides Akron.
Because break was crazy, and in order to do break, you want to use Harmony MC and Firefly and Gallagher until you got Lingsha and Ruan Mei, because I don't remember exactly what. Oh yeah, half people broke in like her ultimate state or something like that.
All of attackers could utilize their party-wide damage buff, but we just established that Robin is statistically the better choice for those teams. Dot engines made no use of crit whatsoever, making specialized utility like Run Maze more appealing. Break engines made use of neither crit damage nor general damage on account of break damage being its own specific thing. So by all accounts, after Akron came out, none of the attackers during this time labeled Sparkle a must-have for them. She could be used, but it wouldn't be optimal. Boonhill preferred Bronya over Sparkle thanks to Bronya's actual full turn events and Boonhill's disregard for all of Sparkle's other buffs. Firefly would much rather have Run Mace break efficiency, res penetration, speed, and break extensions to apply as many counts of super break as she could. Jade, despite being a quantum secondary attacker, was not at all compatible with Sparkle, as the Stoneheart was a pure fiction focused unit, not a hypercarry facilitator. Not back then anyway. Yunli's high personal damage would lead you to believe she could use Sparkle to the fullest, but being a counterattacker, she didn't really
she's 2.0 of Qiyara.
Care about taking extra turns. She would much rather prefer if the enemies took extra turns. For that matter, counterattacks are follow-up attacks, therefore Yunli wants Robin. Fei Xiao was of course the poster child of the follow-up attack engine, and Rappa is all about break damage. Something else that took place around this time was the growing rate of SP efficiency in parties, not just in terms of DPS, but supports and sustains too. Aventurine and Gallagher were both economical additions to the sustain roster, meanwhile damage dealers like Jade and Rappa were also fairly low maintenance. Harmony Trailblazer would prefer to use their skill every turn for the purposes of DPS and energy, but ultimately they don't have to in order to function.
Yeah, it was just a nice quality of life thing. If you had extra points, you could use your skill in order to get energy and a little bit more damage, or some weakness breaking if it's like a single target or something, and one of their weaknesses is imaginary.
Not a single unit following Akron with Sparkle's niche of necessitating crit damage, turn advancement, and high speed capacity. Technically, she kinda didn't need another one insofar as Akron was still standing tall throughout version 2, But as you get more options, you have less
Groucho?
reasons obligating you to use
Sorry,
them, and characters
wrong
have been starting to catch up to
Wrong
Akron in
pronunciation.
performance. Now everyone was starting to deal damage in the millions, not just her. Ergo, Sparkle's equity, which at that point was inextricably linked to Akron's, gradually diminished over time. Sparkle was still the best at what she did, but what she did wasn't in high demand like it used to be. Sadly for her, the first half of that statement would soon also no longer apply. Sunday's inclusion in version 2.7 was
Yeah, this fucking pissed me off. As soon as I saw how OP Sunday was, I was just pissed.
to Sparkle was to Bronya, another support character who was in the same vein as her yet had the ability to perform significantly better, especially in relation to whatever was in demand. He could supply a full turn advance to a target just like Bronya and even refund the skill point if it was on whoever he ulted. Speaking of which, he could give tons of crit damage to said target and more importantly bonus crit rate, which Bronya and Sparkle could not offer. He could also cleanse whomever he skilled on, the other advantage Bronya had over Sparkle. And while you can only enjoy it for 2 turns, he could give the same general DPS boost the others could give to his ally via his technique. Now, Sunday was of course entirely single target whereas Sparkle had AoE buffing. However, being split down the middle was actively hurting her in that regard. If you wanted AoE buffing, Robin was just better since everything about her was AoE. If you wanted single target buffing, Sunday was better since everything about him was single target. Sparkle was officially beat on both ends. Hypercarries very much enjoyed the Dispel, full turn events, higher crit damage concentration, free crit rate, and battery components that Sunday offered. All the while, multi-damaging parties like the Break and Follow engines wanted party-wide supportive utility from units like Robin and Ranmei. Sparkle could no longer hold on to Akron as a lifeline anymore either. Higher investment teams began to make use of Sunday despite Akron not making use of energy whatsoever. And though Akron still remains an excellent character to this day, Amphoris brought in multiple top-tier hypercarries like Madame Herda, Aglaya, Mide, Casterus, and many more are coming in the future, putting a ton of pressure on Akron, with many believing she's on borrowed time.
Yeah, she doesn't feel quite as good as she used to because of all the HP inflation that's happening. I don't think I've used her in a while, actually. It's either I'm using my Herda team with Herda, Jade, and some sustain, either Huafa or Lingsha. That's only if my Lingsha isn't on the other team, which would be the Firefly break team.
And that her days are numbered. Sparkle's best carry, losing ground in the metagame, wouldn't even be the least of her problems though. There would be yet another support released in version 3, who all but pushed her out of tier 0 entirely. And
sorry, another ad, I'm gonna go back just a few seconds.
Out of tier 0 entirely. Enter Tribby, a hybrid between damage and support as
yeah, fuck Tribby too, man. We could have had like a nice, sexy adult elf lady, but no, we got 3 annoying little brats.
Well as being a Harmony character too. While they didn't exactly get the same kind of buzz as other Harmony supports, that actually worked in their favor.
Also, I really hate her like childish aesthetic. Like, it's goofy like Natlan in Genshin. One of the reasons I just couldn't get into Natlan.
In the case of Akron, she already gets a ton of bonus damage to begin with courtesy of her passive traces, meaning Sparkle's damage amps aren't as big as they may appear. Tribby on the other hand provides buffs that Akron doesn't have, like enemy vulnerability, alt-type breast pen, or with their first Eidolon, bonus true damage based on a total. An argument can be made that these buffs are statistically better on Akron than that of crit damage or general damage, not to mention Tribby just having a higher buffing ceiling than Sparkle and possessing the advantage of buffing the entire party, not just one person. All in all, Sparkle did indeed get power crept and in some ways, situation crept. From a circumstantial perspective, Honkai Star Rail spent most of version 2 ignoring the hypercarry engine after Akron, choosing instead to go into niches as Sparkle did not excel at. Secondarily, SP consumption became less and less onerous of a problem. Then, when they finally started to bring hypercarries back into the metagame, new supports came alongside them, measurably outperforming Sparkle like Sunday and RMC to an extent. Worse yet, non-hypercarries are doing a better job buffing than Sparkle, so in general supports do a better job in a niche than an actual support character dedicated to that niche. That's when you know she got screwed over. This begs the question though, was Sparkle just another victim of circumstance like most other old units, or was she never as good as we thought she was? That it was a time period and the units we had available that gave the impression of her being this all-powerful support that could do no wrong. I'd say it's a bit of both. She was definitely overhyped, no mistake about that, but in a similar fashion to the
No, she was not overhyped. Not at all.
Dot engine, they gave attention to everything in the game except those who worked in her niche. Kind of crazy to think she was once a contender for the best character in the game and now she's barely struggling.
Because at the time, a lot of DPS were that like hyper carry role. How are we supposed to know that Hoya was just gonna keep going into niche damage things that are just gonna be ridiculous. Like super break, crazy damage. And then now we have all about remembrance and the summons, just ridiculous damage.
To be an A-tier character. Sparkle's by no means bad, but considering where she started, it's been a pretty steep decline.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about Sparkle?
100% agree. I wish that she was better. It's a shame. I hated Sunday in the story. I hated the fact that he joined the Express. I hate him as a character. I hate his voice. I hate him. And then, on top of that, he fucking power crapped my favorite character. El Hoyo.
Sparkle, do you agree with my points or do you think I sold it too short? Let me know in the comments down below. For now though, if you enjoyed the video, a like and subscribe would be much appreciated.
We'll like the video.
Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at VarsII, join my Discord server, and check out my other What Happened To episodes if you haven't yet. Until next time, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.
Okay, I assume that's the end of the video, even though there's still like 20 more seconds. But yeah, basically, yeah, spot on. I really wish that Sparkle was better. I mean, I guess maybe they're like, Sparkle doesn't need to be good in Honkai Star Rail anymore because she's really good in Honkai Impact 3rd. I don't know. I've also seen, this is speculative, I've seen things, or I've been shared things from the HSR Leaks Discord that are saying that supposedly Sparkle will be getting another, like, character. There's going to be another Sparkle, which, I think is stupid. But whatever. I wish that my girl was just really good still. But that's it for the video. If you did enjoy it, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment down below, and also let me know any videos that you want me to react to. I didn't post a video yesterday because I couldn't find anything, and then by like 4 o'clock I was like, you know what, I'll just not post a video today. So yeah, until next time, you guys have a wonderful day / night. I will see you then. Bye bye.